What's going on, guys? Your boy Fluff here. Today we're going to bring something a little different to you guys. As a lot of you guys know, before Necromancer was the thing, we played a lot of Barbarian for a very long time. Over 2 years of Barbarian was our main character. And 2.6.1, they're buffing all of the classes across the board. And so we played all weekend on the Barbarian, and we wanted to showcase for you guys what we felt were the most powerful speed farming builds on the Barbarian currently. So today we're going to start off by showcasing the SpeedQuake Barb. This is a GR90 speed farm setup. You can talk anywhere from 3 to 5 minute clear times. The first guide we ever did on YouTube was over the SpeedQuake Barb, so it seems only appropriate to come full circle and talk about the SpeedQuake Barb. So let's get into it. So for a lot of you guys, this is going to be nothing new. Obviously, the Mightverse set has been in the game for quite some time. But again, I just wanted to showcase just how powerful this set is now, especially for speed farming. So let's get this thing started. This build revolves around the skill Earthquake with Molten Fury, which says you shake the ground violently, dealing 6,000% weapon damage as fire over 8 seconds to all enemies within 18 yards. Now, how are we going to juice this up? Thanks to the PTR changes on 2.6.1, the 6-piece Might of Earth reads increase the damage of Earthquake, Avalanche, Leap, Ground Stop, Ancient Spear, Seismic Slam by 5,600% damage. We're already dealing 6,000 base damage, and you multiply that by 5,600. Are you crazy? But it doesn't stop there. In this setup, we're also juicing it up with Focus and Restraint, which, as you guys know, when you hit with a resource generating attack or primary skill, you deal 50% increased damage for 5 seconds. And then when you hit with a resource spending attack, you deal 50% increased damage for 5 seconds. So having both of these up will give you a flat 125% damage modifier. We're also using Girdle of Giants in our waist slot, which says Seismic Slam increases your earthquake damage by up to 250% for 3 seconds. We also get up to 200% additive damage from using the Blade of Tribes. It's built onto the weapon itself, which hopefully will get removed into the Q power at some point. We're also going to use Bane of the Trap, which will give us, up to X% damage for enemies afflicted by it and control impairing effects. We're going to use Bane of the Powerful, which you get 20% increased damage after killing an elite pack, plus a 15% increased damage versus elites. And then, of course, various passives that we'll get into in a minute that will also increase your damage. You're going to be doing a ton of damage in this setup with Earthquake. Now, for some of you guys, Elite Quake is no new thing, but a lot of players are coming back to the game, so we're just going to dive quickly into how this all works together. So the 2-piece says reduce the cooldown of Earthquake, Avalanche, Leap, Ground Stomp by 1 second for every 30 fury you spend with an attack. And then the 4-piece says Leap causes an earthquake when you land. Additionally, Leap grants the effect of Iron Impact Rune, and the rune's effect duration increased by 150%. And in the cube, we're running Lot Socks, which says Leap can be cast up to 3 times within 2 seconds before the cooldown begins. So every time you leap in this setup, you're going to cause an earthquake where you land, thanks to the 4-piece Might of Earth set. And what Lot Socks allows you to do is leap 3 times in a row before the cooldown begins. And guess what? If you leap 3 times and you cause an earthquake every time you leap, so that's 3 super juiced up earthquakes wherever you leap. Really powerful. Now, after you leap those 3 times, you're going to be kind of a sitting duck, because that's how you do your damage, is you're leaping all the time, which gets solved by the 2-piece Might of Earth. Every fury you spend is going to reduce the cooldown on leap by 1 second for every 30 fury you spend. You can see here, we're going to leap 3 times, and we're going to hit with a Seismic Slam, and our cooldown on leap is reset. Which brings us to Seismic Slam. Seismic Slam with the Rune Rumble will basically expend all of your fury, causing damage to enemies in a cone in front of you, dealing 15% weapon damage for every point of fury that you spend. So the higher your fury pool, the more fury you're going to spend with Seismic Slam, and the more time you will shave off your leap cooldown. And that's basically how Leap Quake works. You leap, 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 cast, either Threatening Shout or War Cry to get that fury at max, hit your Seismic Slam, and then leap, leap, leap. Do the same thing over and over again, and that's how you're killing mobs. Now, normally for the push variation, you would run a Furnace in the cube, maybe even put on Ancient Parthian Defenders instead of Nemesis, but we're concerned with speed here. But for this setup, we're going to run in-geom in the cube. This lets us basically just leap, 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 leap infinitely across the map, jumping from elite pack to elite pack and doing really good damage along the way with our crazy powerful earthquakes. In-geom also allows us to abuse the Blade of Tribes legendary effect, which says Warcry and Threatening Shout cause an avalanche and an earthquake. So as you guys can see, if we cast Warcry, an earthquake and an avalanche comes down. If we cast Threatening Shout, an avalanche and an earthquake spawns. And if in-geom proc is up, you get to spam Threatening Shout 100% of the time. You're going to be leaping non-stop, you're going to be able to do Threatening Shout non-stop, and you're going to just be able to hunt those elite packs as fast as you can. Keep proccing in-geom, get that momentum going. It's going to be really fast and really strong. Some other big cooldowns, we are using Wrath of the Berserker with Insanity paired with the passive Boon of Bolcathos, which will reduce Wrath of Berserker by 30 seconds. It will also actually decrease the cooldown of Earthquake by 15 seconds, but you're rarely ever going to actually cast Earthquake. And since we want to have as much uptime on Wrath of the Berserker as possible, we're going to juice up for cooldown reduction here. Now normally you would only need around 27% cooldown reduction because you're going to want to stat Maximum Fury on the secondary of your belt and your weapon. Again, guys, the more Maximum Fury you have, the more cooldown that will be reduced on your leap when you spend all of your Fury with Seismic Slam. For this particular setup, we don't really care. We're just going to be juicing up cooldown. This just helps ensure, even if we get a bad rift with low elite density, that we're going to have some good uptime on Wrath of the Berserker. And at GR90 and below, you don't really need the additional toughness you're going to get from other stats. But that being said, you could very well just run with 27% cooldown, gear for that Maximum Fury, and then start gearing up area damage like you would if you're trying to push with the build. But anyway, let's talk about the other skills. So we are using, again, Earthquake with Molten Fury because it's the highest damage Earthquake rune there is. Seismic Slam with Rumble to expend all our Fury like we already talked about. Leap, Death from Above. You can use Death from Above or Call of Area. Call of Area, it's nice because it will gather mobs for you. And you're pretty tanky in this setup, so you could get away with it. Death from Above is just nice because it will stun mobs and basically makes it more of a face roll speed. We're using Threatening Shout with Falter. This will increase the damage they take by 25% from all sources for 6 seconds. So great, another damage modifier for Earthquake. And again, we can spam this skill when in-geom procs. So it's really, really nice. Wrath of the Berserker and Insanity. Yes, you get 10% crit chance, 25% attack speed, 20% dodge chance, 20% movement speed, all juicy things, but with Insanity you get 50% increased damage, more damage, or Earthquake. Lastly, we're running Warcry with Impunity. Again, we're running Warcry mostly for its effect with Blade of the Tribes, but having that additional toughness and Fury gain is quite nice as well. For passives, pretty flexible. I think the ones that we use here are the best. Ruthless, a flat 40% increased damage to enemies below 30% health. Boon of Bolcathos, more cooldown reduction on the Wrath of the Berserker. That's a no-brainer. Earth of Might is also a super must here because you gain 30 Fury when Avalanche or Earthquake is triggered. So every time we leap or shout or war cry, we're getting that additional Fury to spend. You need to get that Fury as high as you possibly can before you spend it, so you can make sure that you reset the cooldown of leap when in-geom's not up. When in-geom's up, you just leap, and war cry and Threatening Shout to your heart's content. But outside of that, you're going to play SpeedQuake just like you would Leapquake. But when in-geom procs, you're just going to go ham. And lastly, Rampage is a really strong choice here. You're actually going to be killing mobs on the way to other elite packs because of how much raw damage the Earthquake is doing. When you're leap, infinite leap, you're going to be killing mobs, proccing Rampage. It's really, really nice. Lastly, we are also running a Hellfire Amulet here with Brawler, and Brawler will basically increase your damage by 20% if there are 3 enemies within 12 yards, which is pretty much always going to be the case with this build, especially if you run Call of Area. We talked about the Mightiverse set. You know what each piece does. Let's talk about Focus and Restraint. Again, guys, Leap is going to proc the generation part of it, and Seismic Slam is going to proc the resource spending part of it. So this is basically going to be up all the time. You want to make sure to cast Seismic Slam at least once every 5 seconds, but you also want to try to keep the Seismic Slam damage up from your belt. Now, when in-geom procs, this is less important because you're just spamming Threatening Shout, you're spamming War Cry. You don't really want to stop and cast Seismic Slam because it does take a while. The animation does take a while. You're just going to be spamming leap, war cry, shout. But this is really, really nice for when in-geom is down. This will up your juice quite a bit. Or even, that once every 5 seconds you want to keep Restraint up This will also proc Girdle of Giants. It's just going to happen organically. It's a really nice effect. Other than that, we're using Nemesis Bracers. This is an in-geom based build. In-geom and Nemesis go together like peas and carrots, guys. Procking champions off shrines means more in-geom procs. More in-geom procs means more leaps, more shouts, more damage, more speed. For our last gem, we're using Gokuk of Swiftness. It's pretty nice having that 15% additional cooldown. The attack speed is also no slouch. And dodge on a Barb, especially with Wrath of the Berserker out. That means you're going to have some decent dodge chance. But if you guys are finding you're too squishy at those high GR levels, you can run Esoteric Alteration to make this smooth as butter. This will just flat increase your damage mitigation, period. We talked about skills, we talked about passes, we talked about the gear. Lastly, we're going to talk about your toughness. So you get toughness from the 4-piece leap, which says leap gains the effect of Iron Impact rune, and that rune's effect and duration are increased by 150%. So Iron Impact rune basically gives you 150% additional armor, and that 150% armor bonus is juiced up by the 4-piece Might of Earth. And then most importantly for our toughness, we are running Band of Might in the cube, which says after casting Furious Charge, Ground Stop, or Leap, you gain 80% reduced damage for 8 seconds. This ring is amazing. 80% damage mitigation is so good. Like, words can't even describe how good 80% mitigation is. Just running this ring alone is almost enough mitigation to carry you to, GR85. That's how good this ring is. But yeah, you're gonna feel quite tanky, especially if you drop Gokuk for Esoteric. For the gear, we'll just run over stat priority as fast as we can here. Gloves, crit damage, crit chance, cooldown reduction, strength. And again, if you don't want to go the cooldown variety, you can juice up your area damage. Especially if you're going to push with this build, you're going to want to juice up that area damage. Shoulder, strength, vite, all res, cooldown reduction. That all res could be replaced with earthquake damage, or if you're pushing again, area damage is quite good. Helmet, strength, vite, crit chance with a socket. Chest, strength, vite, earthquake damage, and sockets. Belt, strength, vite. Attack speed is the base roll on Girdle of Giants, which isn't super helpful here. And then you can go life or even life per fury spent for that additional healing. You're going to want life per fury spent on either your belt or your weapon. It's just a lot easier to get it on your belt. And you don't need a ton, especially if you get max fury on those secondary rolls, because you'll heal for a lot more the higher your fury pool is. Legs, strength, vite, all res, and sockets would be ideal. Boots, strength, vite, all res, and seismic slam damage. On the focus and restraint, the dream rolls would be great. Crit damage, crit chance, cooldown reduction, and socket. That's what you want. Weapons kind of negotiable. Highest possible damage roll, strength, percent damage, the highest earthquake damage roll you can get. And for that last one, vitality is going to make you more tanky. Cooldown is going to help you keep Wrath of the Berserker up. You go life per fury spent if you want the additional healing. At the speed farming levels, it's not super serious. Bracers, fire, strength, vitality, and crit chance. On the necklace, preferably you would want fire damage, crit chance with a socket. And again, one of the 5 passes we mentioned in this video. That's basically going to do it for the guide. As you guys can see, our gear isn't super great. We don't have full augments. We don't even have full ancient. We're already speed farming through 90s like butter, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Really consistent, really tanky, very strong. I think you guys are going to like it. Again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section below, or if you think I've left out anything, also feel free to comment. But that's going to do it for the guide. We're so happy to see that our former main class, the Barbarian, is getting some love next season. It has been a long time coming. Barb has been so stale for such a long time. We're so excited about these changes. Again, big shout out to all of our supporters and subscribers on Twitch. We love you guys. As always, like, subscribe, come over to Twitch, ask your questions. We love you guys. Peace out.